We had a good workout yesterday. Finished up on the Tech game and got started a little bit on TCU and got the guys out a little bit last night. So normal Monday, players are off and coaches are working and trying to get ready to have a good week of practice for the next one.
Coach, I'm just curious, going into TCU, what is your familiarity with Sonny Dykes?
None, just from a distance. Obviously, I've watched him a little bit from a distance, but haven't really crossed paths with him much in recruiting or such. But he's done well. They're playing really, really good now, and obviously did a good job at SMU. But don't know a lot about him personally.
Does it help the offensive staff a little bit that you guys have gone against Gillespie the last 2 years and his defense is at TU?
It's the same for them, though. He's going to feel like that he's has a good concept of us in his approach, and obviously ours will be the same with him. Personnel could vary here and there. Same defense, same principles in the back end and such.
Looking back at the film, it seemed like they went at Jabbar quite a bit, even though you had injuries on the other side. Were you more impressed with Jabbar after?
We thought he played good. Played 104 plays, which is not easy, but competed. They did go after him. He held his own and played a good football game. Was competitive. Got his eyes down on one tackle, but overall certainly played well enough for us to win.
Your secondary as a whole, going into obviously what's a pretty big test against a team that's throwing the ball pretty well. Any concerns that you've got at this point in the season?
You talking about this game or
your secondary going against TCU? Yes.
Well, this team's good on offense. I mean, they're throwing the deep ball really well. The quarterback has come into his own in the last 3 or 4 weeks, and he's experienced now. I think this is his third year, maybe. I know he's been around a while, playing well. They're averaging 6.6 a rush. Their running backs are averaging over 8 yards a carry. And then he's throwing the deep ball really well, and he can run. I don't know that we have maybe 1 or 2 guys on the field on defense that can catch him. I think he's that fast. He's playing good. So we'll have to really have a good game plan. Our guys have to play well, have to be really competitive. They're playing good football right now.
How do you feel about your defense going up against a dual-threat quarterback like Gundy?
We do it. We've done it. From here on out, most of the guys that we play are going to have the ability to run and take off and make a play. This guy's really fast, so it's a little different. I haven't studied the other guys in the league, but we have to do a good job when rushing him in the pass game. Make sure we eliminate some creases. We gave some creases up last Saturday. The quarterback that played against us, we didn't know anything about him, and we found out now he can run around and make plays. We should have contained him a little better, so that'll be a big factor in this game. Make sure we set an edge and contain the quarterback.
When he was being recruited before he committed to TCU, Duggan was here at your big night camp, the star type camp, and I remember Mike Kirsch being really, really high on him. Do you remember, and did you have any discussion with Mike on his thoughts on Max?
I don't remember what year that was now.
A while ago.
Yeah, Spencer was here with us for maybe a year at that time, and I can't even remember who we were recruiting or what. Might have been Costello back then, but we liked him. He's a good player. His athleticism has been there from the start. I think he's really developed as a thrower now, in my opinion. That's where his games has gone to another level.
Is there something, Mike, about your defense that you feel most secure about at this point, or best about halfway through the season?
Well, we're getting a lot of young guys reps, and they're gaining valuable experience. I like that part. I'm not fired up about young guys gaining experience on the run like we are, but that's what's happening right now. I do like that. I think that we've been competitive and physical most of the time in our games. We've given up some a few more run yards than we should have because we're getting out of gap responsibility, not necessarily because we're getting whipped, which is better because we can solve those issues. For the most part, we're defending pretty well. We had 105, 6, whatever plays last week, and balls in the air a lot. Guys made some plays, and so they're coming along. I think that our staff is learning to work together with Derek. Their game day communication has been better each week. We made an adjustment. We put Hammer up in the box last week to give us a little more maturity and eyes up top. Derek had made that suggestion. I thought it was a good suggestion. It worked out well for us. So they're coming along. We got a long ways to go, but they're coming along. Just try to keep playing as well as we can while these young guys grow up.
There's going to be fans who measure them by last year's defense, which you may not have that kind of defense. Their ability to not just make plays to win games, but win games, period, right? They can control games from start to finish on some occasions. This group can't do that, but you still got to feel comfortable going.
Yeah, we don't have those the maturity on the side of the ball like we did last year. That was the difference. I think that there's talent on this defense. I think there's young guys that would be comparable to those guys. They just don't have the experience, and that's the difference that maybe you're talking about, which is true. So, as we prepare for each team, I think you're seeing a different offensive approach in the league this year than you saw in the last few years, and that's going to factor into what some people would consider overall defensive statistics. They're not going to look as good this year for anybody, in my opinion, based on the style of play. We're getting really, really good quarterback play in this league like we used to get forever, from about 12 up through about 18. Remember, it was rough week to week, and I think you're getting that again now. Guys are popping up in the league and playing fantastic at the quarterback position, so you're seeing these numbers and yards. I haven't seen Texas play, and they're getting it, and I guess Kansas State's getting it, and TCU's getting it, Tech's getting it. I mean, the guy that played against us from Tech's pretty good. I think he's pretty good. So you're starting to see some of that pop up again, and that's why you're seeing some of these big numbers.
How does defending so many fourth downs the last 2 weeks prepare you for those situations in the future?
Fourth downs is a call sheet now that we have to have, or we think we do. Some coaches are choosing to go for a lot of fourth downs, so what would have been a very small play call sheet for a defense in the past now has grown some, different selections and stuff. It's going to be a lot like, 3rd and 3 and 4th and 3 are going to be similar, except defensively you can be a little bit more high risk because they have to perform better. The vulnerability, in my opinion, offensively on a fourth down call is everything has to go right. Because if something goes wrong and we end up getting 3 yards and it's fourth, we can't punt. The other team gets the ball right there. So for us, we have to come up with a decent fourth down play call list for our defense, when in the past we really didn't have to do that.
Mike, you talk about the quarterback play in the league. The guy you're about to play is actually a backup. They started somebody else till he got hurt. Guys you played Saturday, who's third team. A lot of teams seem to have a lot of quarterback depth. What's behind that?
Well, this guy down here, I don't think he's going to lose his job now. I think he's settled in pretty good for whatever reason, however he got there. There was talk about that happening up at Kansas State, and I haven't seen them play. I watched them play the other night late. They played Saturday night. I saw 10, 15 plays. At one time, they thought he wasn't going to be the guy. I think he's probably settled in now. And then I'm going to guess that the guy that we just played is probably settled in, that they'll probably play him, because I think the guy that was playing ahead of him was healthy. They just chose to make a change going into this game. And the reason you're seeing more of this is travel baseball forever was bringing in a higher level kid at getting out of high school because they had personal training hitters, personal hitting coaches, personal pitching coaches, all these different things we never got. I mean, we went to high school and played high school ball, and our coach was ever who was the coach. We didn't have a personal trainer. We didn't have a personal hitting coach or a throwing coach. And now you're seeing these coaches that are getting young players who are 13, 14 years old, and they're training them in footwork and body control and balance and arm slot and doing different things, and they're getting a lot more reps. So when they get to our level, they've had what would be more reps in reading defenses on studying on tape and throws and 7-on-7 stuff than I got when I was finished with my career. And that's the difference, and that's what's happening now. Same thing my boys did to me. Both of them came and said they needed to hire a throwing coach. And I said, well, I've been coaching quarterbacks for a long time. They said, we're looking for a real coach. I mean, a real throwing coach. Seriously, I'm just telling you what both of them did. The middle one did it to me, and the little one, the young one, did it to me just a year ago. And that's what these kids are doing now, and there's guys that specialize in it. You know, Zach Robinson did it for years down here in Dallas and was developing quarterbacks, and then he got hired out here with the Rams. So that's why they're progressing way more faster than we ever did.
What about the depth, though? I mean,
Well, you know,
you're unproven at backup quarterback.
Yeah.
OU is proven at backup quarterback. They don't have one. Some have it, some don't, and the ones that do really seem to be a step ahead.
it's hit and miss. And knock on wood, we've been pretty effective here over the last 15 years when we've had to get to our second quarterback and our third. We've played years where a third-team quarterback's been in, and we could still function. And there's a mixed opinion in coaches and their approaches and how they want to handle that particular situation. Mine has always been a little different than other coaches, but that's just the way I want to do it. And with backup quarterbacks, I see it differently than maybe other teams do or other coaches do. But there's a different of opinion that goes around in how people feel about backup quarterbacks.
The portal could work both ways in that regard, right? I mean, you got the possibility that there are more out there because of the sheer number of quarterbacks now that are jumping into the portal, which gives you the option of going out and maybe getting some experience that way. And yet, at the same time, you may be constantly worried about losing guys to the portal and worried about that depth.
Both things you said are true. So the approach that we have, I guess that I have is I would prefer to have a quarterback in the program developing and bring him up through. And the only way to do that is give him reps. So if you bring guys in every year at that position and, for lack of a better term, try them out, the only way you can do that is through reps. And when you do that, then you're taking away from one that's already here. And now you're spreading those reps out instead of trying to develop them in your program. And if you just look at what's going on in the portal, there's still almost 1,400 players that are in the portal that have never gotten out. And then at the quarterback position, it's been a little bit unique in the standpoint that we've seen some potential NFL players transfer somewhere and play a year or two, and they're high caliber talent, and they left because they were at a school where they thought they could beat a kid out, and that kid was better, and they said, I've got to get out of here, and they leave. And then there's a big drop-off to where there's a bunch of guys transferring on the portal, quarterback going everywhere, and maybe they're not any better than what you had to originally start, and now you're sharing reps with that other guy, so you're not coming along as fast as you want to. That's the way I see it. That's just my opinion.
Do you have any status updates on Corey Black, Preston Wilson, and Braden Johnson?
Well, the first thing is that I wouldn't tell you anyway. Second thing, but you're doing your job. I like it. The second thing is I'm expecting them to play. Okay, they're not a guy. When we get a guy that's out, I'll tell you they're out. But they should be practicing middle of the week.
Mike, you said after the game you thought your coverage in the secondary was good. You just kind of got beat by them making some plays. You still feel that way?
Yeah, it wasn't bad. I mean, they threw it. I don't know how many times they throw it. Yeah, I mean, we said it was going to be 60-something. They threw it 60-something. It's a law of averages, right? You throw it 60-something times, eventually they're going to hit some. You know, I mean, it's the old Mike Leach theory. I'd rather throw it 65 times and run it 65 times because I can average over 9.5 yards per pass, and if I'm good at running, I'm really only going to average about 4.5 yards. So if you do the math, it's a better football play. that's what's going on. So they're going to make some plays. Number 3, down here in the corner, I think it was 3 that got beat on the ball down the 1 yard line or something. He's in good coverage. He's right there, and the ball was underthrown. The guy goes back, makes a good catch. It is what it is. You see it on Sundays, right? You see it all the time. So overall, our coverage is pretty good for 60-something pass attempts. Do we need to get better? Sure we do. We need to locate a little better in some zone coverages? Sure we do. But we do a better job of meshing up the quarterback in our pass rush to try to contain him a little better. It may not be easy to get to some of those throws, but I was pleased with the overall coverage and what we did with the amount of times they threw the ball.
You mentioned Cam and coverage there. I was telling those guys, I went back and looked at it. Corey was in coverage. He was still in the game, that first touchdown pass. Did you look at that? Because I'm not sure that ball could have been thrown. It literally hit their guy in the hand.
Yeah, no, he made a good throw, and he got beat. He wasn't full speed. We found out on that play, unfortunately. I mean, they just asked about it. He's doing better. He ran last night, but he couldn't take off and go, and the guy got a step or something on him, threw the ball on the money. I don't even know what the kid's name is. I guess I probably better learn his name, unfortunately. Maybe he'll leave after next year, but he made a lot of good throws. That ball's thrown right on the money. So this guy we're playing Saturday is throwing the ball deep. The deep ball as accurate as anybody I've seen in a long time, unfortunately.
He's second in pass efficiency in the country behind Stroud, who
Yeah,
It's
I
a
mean,
clear
Stroud,
highlight
that's
there.
like a video game when you play for them, right? I mean, you just stand back here and find somebody to throw to and have some fun. But this guy's been really good.
Coach, I know you guys have a lot of depth at receiver, but how have you seen Bryson Green really emerge? I mean, he's a sophomore, but he's still out there making big plays.
He's learning how to use his body. He's a big guy. I mean, I don't even know what he weighs now. You got him at 205. He's every bit of 205. So he's a Marcel Aitman type of player. I mean, Marcel was 6'5", but I'm saying Marcel used his body as an advantage in the receiving game, and Nine's figuring that out. He's learning to use his body. What are his strengths? Play to your strengths. Am I a fast guy? Use your speed, quickness, make my cuts, or do I use my body and body people up? So that's where he's improved. He's got a ways to go, but I'm pleased with his progress very early in his career.
Mike, you've talked a lot about Trace Ford in different ways, but what makes him so good at breaking up passes? It just seems like he's always there swatting down a pass at the line.
Yeah, he's very athletic. One, that helps a lot. He gets in certain spots in games, and he's very cerebral, and he has a natural ability to do some things. And so that's not something really we coach. Because you don't want to jump, because the worst thing you can do is jump. Quarterbacks do that, and he kind of knows how to stay on the ground until he has a feel for if I need to lift and stuff. He does a good job of that. I don't really understand or know how to give you an answer for that, but he's been pretty good at that over his career.
You mentioned
Now that you're through a couple conference games, how do you think your linebackers, Cobb, Vincent, have played, filling in for your entire group last year's in the NFL now, really the starters?
They're playing good for where we're at, particularly Cobb with, being a first-time player. He's coming along good. And he's going to be a completely different guy at this time next year. So there's times that his alignment's incorrect and his assignments are incorrect, but he's learning on the run. And then Benson is giving us, some maturity. He's giving us toughness. He runs hard. He competes. He's further along, but we're getting some good play out of those guys.
When you have a kid like Duggan who can run, how much of it is on the defensive line to contain, and how much of it is on the linebackers to kind of spot?
Both. Everybody's got a responsibility, and so we got to rush the quarterback, but you also have to be aware of who is the quarterback. And this guy can take off and run, so we have to do a good job of building a wall and netting him up. Try to eliminate creases. Be careful about giving the edge up. And linebackers are involved in some of that at times based on what the calls are.
There's 5 games this year. Don Richardson playing better than you expected, or?
He's doing really well right now. He's running physical. That's what he does. He's listening. He's learning. He's trying to adapt to making guys miss a little more instead of just running people over. He'll improve at that throughout his career, kind of like Chris Carson did. Chris Carson just ran everybody over, and then he realized he could make a miss a little bit, and then he mixed those together. That's what we would like to get with him. But we need tough yards out of him. We need him to be physical, and he's done that. So I'm pleased with his progress.
What have you been most impressed with? What have you been most impressed about so far?
Just running physical. That's what we ask him to do.
This will be your third 2:30 game in a row, and you got another one. Texas is going to be 2:30 on ABC. Since they don't do them at 1 o'clock anymore, is that your optimum?
Yeah, 2:30 is good kickoff time, right? Gives fans a chance to tailgate and come here and enjoy themselves and get to watch the game and not go home real late, and everybody gets to get home before 10 and things like that. I mean, it's ideal time for college football. I mean, 2:30s are my choice. So you got good coverage in the East Coast and good coverage in the West Coast.
Outside looking in, it looks like you guys, you get a big win at Baylor, just go to the next one. Doesn't seem like they get too high or too, it's kind of like business-like. Is that
They've been good. That's a part of our culture is, the general public, the fans, people, if I see somebody at the coffee shop or the gas station, Coach, you got a big game this week. Every game's a big game. They're all the same. This one's bigger. Well, I mean, I'm with you, but if we didn't win the last one, this one wouldn't be as big. So the players have to approach that way. And it's a 12-game season, right? We know we get 12 games, and we can't get too high on one or too low on the other. There's not been many teams in the country finish the year without losing a game at some particular point during the season, or good teams lost a couple games. So if you throw all your eggs in one basket and get all jacked up and put everything out there and then you lose, come up short, sometimes it's hard to recover and get ready for the next one, when the preparation needs to stay the same. I know some people don't want to hear that. They don't believe in that. But that is one thing I know for sure that has to happen in college football. You got to stay the same all the time.
who sets the tone? I mean, I know that's when you want to do it. You got some, I know that's when you want to do it. You got some young guys that are playing this, hey, Texas Tech, you beat them. Now you got, TCU on the road to top 15 teams. How do you get the young guys to buy it?
They have to learn in the culture. From day one, I start feeding them things and wear them out. I could bring guys in here and they could recite for you what I tell them on Saturday mornings every game day. They can tell you exactly what I say because I say the same thing every time. It takes 14 and a half minutes. I say the same thing. And when they come in here as a young player, I start giving them the information that I want them to get from day one. That's what I do. I don't call plays anymore. And so I work it from day one, just like you do when you're raising a kid. Yes, sir, no, sir, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, please, thank you. Do what you're told, respect adults from day one. I just keep feeding it to them, and then hopefully they get it. In this organization, most of them that don't usually won't make it here very long, which doesn't happen much anymore because we have 140 players on our team. We've got good kids. We don't have many issues, so they all migrate toward a positive force, and that's what happens here. That's the luxury of me being here almost 19 years. Difference than when you're just starting a program or you don't have continuity with your staff, then it becomes more of an issue in trying to get them to understand what actually our goals are. And it's not 100%, but it gives you the best chance.
Offensively, are you guys playing up to the tempo that you want to?
Offensively?
Yeah.
They're playing okay. We need to run the ball better. Need to block better, run the ball better. That would help, but we're playing okay.
Do you have to find a balance of, as far as tempo? If you go too fast, your defense is right back on the field. You have to find a balance with that?
Yeah, yes. There's a time for tempo, and then there's a time that tempo is really not an advantage. Years ago, when we had veteran offensive linemen, we had early round NFL quarterback pick. We had 2 or 3 wideouts that were NFL kids, and a running back. We just play fast all the time because it didn't matter. I mean, it's hard to screw it up. Just go all play and let them make a play. If you don't have that luxury, then there's a time to play fast and there's a time to not play fast based on what the circumstances. Could be your opponent, could be the depth you have on offense, could be your health that week on offense, a variety of things that could change that. So as coaches, we have to make a good decision based on what we have available each week and or each year, instead of just saying we're going to do one or the other.
Cobb mentioned last week the fact that back in the spring when Coach Mason came in, that he had all the 1s through 3s mixed up during the spring practice and whatnot. Didn't necessarily have it 1s, 2s, and 3s practicing.
Mm-hmm.
How beneficial do you think that was come Saturday when you did have a lot of injuries on that defensive side and maybe didn't have that weird chemistry issue because of that opportunity in the spring?
Yeah, so they wanted to work guys through based on, a little bit of a change in that staff, and it works out okay because ever since COVID, we practice 1s and 2s and 3s. Our 3s get the same number of reps that our 1s that get. That's one thing that I learned. I've said many times. I learned that and so guys over a period of time get better. So when we start, I'll give you an example. When we start in August, up last year through bowl practice, from August practice all the way till the end of bowl practice till we played the last game, our 3s and or our young kids got approximately 425 live snaps. That's a lot, okay? And so those young kids and those 3s in practice, when we went 11 on 11, they got around 425 snaps. That my first 15 years of coaching, I'm guessing the 3s probably got 50, 60, something like that. We just didn't do much of it. And that was a mistake on my part. And so now those guys get quality work because we all know that the 3 comes to 2 real quick, and then the 2 that's out there gets tired and he taps out, the 3 goes in.
You've talked a couple of times in the past couple of weeks that you think your defensive line quarterback pressure could be better. I mean, the stats have been really good. What do you think that where do you see?
And it was pretty good Saturday. We were disruptive, but we were out of control. We need to net them up, and we need to be in control. And that's a really difficult thing for a defensive lineman to do is, Coach, you're telling me to fight like crazy and do whatever I can do to get to the quarterback, and then you're telling me to be under control. So it's just a learning process that we go through, and the coaching of understanding who we're playing against, like this guy this week's really active and can run. So we need to have a good rush, but we need to rush together and not create a lot of creases. So statistically, they've been good. They could be better working as a unit, in my opinion.
What have you thought of Sean Michael Flanagan in the last few weeks?
He's been good. There's times he needs to do a couple things better, which we've talked with him about that yesterday. But his commitment to this organization's been awesome. His willingness to compete, to practice and play in games when he's beat up has been excellent. And he's one of those guys that is going to get better every game because, he hadn't played much really prior to this year other than special teams.
I asked just because he's going to be on the field probably more that first half with Kendall suspended for the first half.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, unless we can get him we can get an appeal.
Are you appealing that?
No. I was just trying to be nice.
I think it's automatic. I think they look at it automatically, but
Yeah, I called Greg.
Dave's an expert.
I called Greg this morning and offered him several things, and he said, Coach, that one's not going to get overturned. I said, well, I appreciate it. But it's the rules. What he did is targeting. He hit him with the crown of his helmet. So.
But that being said, how's Kendall playing for you? Looks like he's making plays. I mean, he played a game last 2 weeks ago. How's he playing for you?
He's getting better every week. lines up wrong sometimes, gets an assignment wrong sometimes, just like a young player would do. But he's getting better every week, and he's now playing faster because he's not having to think as much. He's got a ways to go. This time next year, he's going to be a good football player. He's going to play for us. He's going to keep getting more reps. All the things that we ask him to do in this culture, he's doing good. He's going to get better. It's new to him, reps. You know, he hit that blitz exactly the way he was supposed to hit it. When he hit the running back down here and the quarterback kept the ball and scored, he did exactly what he was supposed to do. We had somebody else for the quarterback. And that guy didn't do his job, but he did exactly what he was supposed to do, and he did it in a forceful way. So if he keeps doing that, he'll come around and be fine.
In a close game, and a lot of these are going to be close games, when you've got fresh legs in the fourth quarter, that's a weapon. Ben Kapinski had some reps, but not nearly as much as the other guys, and he seemed to be extremely fresh in the fourth quarter. Talk a little bit about that aspect, and then did you see what his teammates did? I mean, they gathered around him after the last play, and they kind of made Ben the hero.
Yeah, he got 36 plays, and he needs to be in that 50 number. Sometimes we have personnel groupings based on the teams we're playing. You have speed packages, muscle packages, so on and so forth. But he really needs to be in there 45 or 50 plays based on an 80-play game. This team's averaging 67.5 plays a game. The last team that we played is averaging, upwards of 90. So for whatever reason, if this ends up being a 75-play game for them, he needs to be in there 40-ish or so because he's earned that, and he plays smart.
You said you moved Hammer up to the box. Did you move somebody down?
No. We just moved him up. We have enough guys on the ground. Yeah, we just bumped him up.
Mike, it's number 8 versus number 12, I think, in the AP poll Saturday. You still get excited when it's a showdown game like that?
Oh, I think so. I think you get when you have a lot of hype, you get there's a feeling in pregame warm up that's different than without that. I think I still feel that. So I guess my answer would be yes. Yeah. People say, I always hear coaches say, "Yeah, this is what I coach for," or and some players say, "This is what I play for," like 1 versus 2 or 6 versus 5 or whatever. I like the 28-point spread games better. They're much more enjoyable for me. But when we're in these games, in pregame and getting going, and the crowd and the pageantry of college football is pretty special.
How cool is it for you? I mean, you've been here a long time. You played in some games like that, but you also played and coached in some sort of
Ugly
draft
ones.
games.
Yeah, ugly
How
ones.
cool is it that this is sort of becoming common in Stillwater?
Yeah, it is. I coached 11 years as an assistant, never coached on a winning team. For my first 11 years of coaching as an assistant, I was losing record. And so I learned to appreciate what's going on now because I had the other side for a long time. And, the famous line that Todd Monken used to say, and he's dead on, and it doesn't make a difference if you're coaching in the NFL, you're coaching Power 5, Division 5, Division 2, JUCO, or Power Division 16, or high school. If you're losing, it's no fun. If you're winning, it's fun. And when you think about that, he's exactly right. And so us having as much success as we've had for a long period of time makes it better, and it keeps you in the game, keeps you coaching, keeps you wanting to do it.
Your last 2 trips down to Fort Worth haven't gone well in this stadium. Do feelings like that ever linger, or is that easier?
No, I didn't even know that until you just brought it up. No, I'm good. But there's just I've never been able to do much with that. And the reason why is because honestly, I didn't remember that myself. And the ones that play in the game, they are clueless. They have no idea what happened down there 2 years ago or 4 years ago. They just know what's next on TikTok or Instagram or something like that.
When Matt Rule left Baylor, where would you put him among college coaches? Top 10, top 50? I mean, he was a really good coach, right, for Baylor?
When Matt Rule left Baylor, let's see, how many years was he there? 3?
Yeah, right after the 19 seasons when he left.
Right, but how many years was he at Baylor? 3?
3, 17 through
Okay, and he had, the last year they had a good year, right? They went to the Sugar Bowl. And then what'd they do the year before?
7-6.
They were winning record. After he had to just start from scratch, his first year was just a...
Okay, so he came in after Bryles because they hired one guy for 1 year.
1 year.
Yeah, so basically he came in after Bryles and then that. But he did good at Temple too, didn't he? Wasn't he at Temple?
Yeah.
I thought he did pretty good, yeah. I mean, I would say that, how many years was he at Temple? Anybody know? So he had about 4 years at Temple and then 3 here. So he's a 7-year head coach. Is that right? I would say people would think, yeah, he's obviously done good. The Panthers, they thought he did good, but the one thing about it is, I thought they were smart. They had good schemes and stuff, good concepts. That's the way I look at coaches. And then I also look at longevity. You know, guys that are coaching a long time, can they sustain? Or like guys that move around, can they do it in different places? You know, like the guy at Utah, I think he's a good coach because he sustains winning there. But I would say yes, the people would have considered Matt a good college football coach.
I bring it up because he's just the latest example of unquestionably good to great college coach that for whatever reason just washed out. You know, you got fired this morning.
Oh, I didn't know that. I did not know that.
And so
I couldn't even have told you the record, so I didn't know that.
Any idea why that just happens again?
Why it happens? The NFL is parity, and it's funny you brought that up because last night when I got home, I watched the last 5 minutes of that game that was on with one of my kids, and I saw some scores along the bottom of the screen. So the last year's Super Bowl team, I think they're 2-3, right? And then the Bengals lost last night, and they were in the Super Bowl, and they're 2-3. And I think before this week that the Patriots were 1-3. I think, is that not right?
No, that's correct.
Okay, so and he's supposed to be a good coach. So the point being is that the NFL, there's so much parity, and that's what's trickling down to college because of NIL and the portal. That's why you're seeing things that are starting to level out now because guys are bouncing around in the portal. Quarterbacks are bouncing around. Like, you take a quarterback that's starting somewhere, and he's a really good college player. If you don't screw it up as a coach, you're going to win 8 games. And then he leaves and goes over somewhere else, and then the next guy playing has not played much. You might be a 5 or 6 win season, so it's a huge impact. And I think you're seeing that. I know you're seeing it in the NFL. Now it's coming down to college with the NIL and portal. But to answer your question, there's just so much parity in the NFL that, I mean, how else would you explain that?
Has there ever been a point in your life where you thought that might look like something it'd be fun to coach in the NFL?
Sure, yeah. Yeah. I 10 years ago, I don't remember how many years ago. I don't know what year. I can't remember. I went to, I interviewed 3 times with one team and then didn't take the job.
In NFL? Who was it?
Well, I don't know if they want me to say or not. It was Tampa Bay. They ended up hiring the guy from, I think they hired the guy from Rutgers. Yeah, I had multiple interviews with them. But anyway, long story short, yeah, I thought about it, but obviously not now. I mean, it's not.
You played quarterback against his dad when he was coaching at Tech, but I can't see where you've ever coached against Sonny Dykes, at least when he's been a head coach. But based on your barometer, he's one of those guys, he was successful at La Tech, he was successful at Cal, SMU, now he's at TCU. Your thoughts on Sonny Dykes? If you
Well,
have-
it's what I said earlier, just like his dad. He had tremendous success out there and was good at what he did. I coached against him when I was at Baylor, and they whacked us. And they were good at what they did. And so I mean, outside looking in, he's got some of those, I'm guessing some of those principles, whatever. He's been good and had success everywhere he's been.
All good. Your sons have spent a lot of time with Tucker Barnard over the years. He got win number 100 Friday night. What do you think about that and what he's been able to do here in Stillwater?
Yeah, he's done a great job. They do a great job of coaching here. I mean, you've been around them. I mean, Tucker, and it's hard to win a lot of games. We don't have all the luxuries that some of these other schools have, but he's been very successful, and they have a good staff. They're good with the I call them kids, but they're good with the players. They coach it. They do it the right way. They have fun. And I texted him Friday night and told him, great job. He said what he should say. He said, I've had good players and good assistants, but it starts at the top. And I told him it starts at the top. It's not going to happen if you're not doing the right things. He's had an unbelievable career over there at Stillwater.
Thanks, Coach.
Good. All right.
Coach.